3 things that all men hide from their women. In this video, we'll talk about men's fears, what they are afraid of, and what they really hide. So let's go in order. And the first fear is the fear of failure and self-doubt. Even the most confident men are afraid of something. They have their own fears, and often they don't show these fears, don't express them, and are afraid to share them with their women, so as not to reveal themselves as weak, vulnerable, afraid of something, or possibly unable to handle something. So, how can the fear of failure manifest itself? For example, you have started a relationship and the man avoids talking about the future. And when the conversation starts about some joint plans for the future, the man constantly changes the subject, and the woman can interpret this in different ways. That is, the woman might think that she is not important to him and he doesn't want a future relationship with her. But if a man doesn't feel secure and, for example, realizes that he can offer the woman reliability and safety, then he will avoid these conversations in every possible way. Moving on, hiding his doubts so that the woman doesn't see him as a weak person. That is, men just like women. They also need support, they do. It's also important for them to have someone nearby who believes in them and provides that very support. But it's often difficult for a man to admit this and to express it. A woman can cry. A woman can say that she's having a hard time. A woman can lean, as she believes, on a strong shoulder. But a man, it turns out, cannot find a strong shoulder for himself. And it's precisely then that he can improve, face his own fears. And here, he won't voice any doubts so that she doesn't feel that he's weak. And there might also be an overreaction, excessive self-confidence. That is, a man might either, on the contrary, for example, not talk about the future, be afraid, create a family, be afraid, enter into relationships. And here, as a way of battling his fears, a man might show excessive self-confidence. But for the simple reason that he actually has a lot of these doubts. So what should a woman do in this situation if you recognize your man? Here, a woman should show her readiness, support the man in any situation, not only when he succeeds at something, and you celebrate with him, but when he doesn't succeed at something, when a man sees that beside him is a friend, not just a woman, but also a friend, and she supports him, and it's not scary that he didn't succeed at something. If he couldn't handle a situation and a task got out of control, if at that moment the woman gives him that very support, and he also feels a strong shoulder, because everyone needs support in this world. A woman needs support and a man needs support. So, if a woman believes in her man and supports him, then he won't be afraid to be more open, to communicate with you. Then he will trust you more and the relationship will naturally develop more harmoniously. Next, the second fear is the fear of expression. Emotions, and for a man. In fact, it's often very difficult to express emotions. It all starts in childhood when a boy is told, "Don't cry, you're a man, what kind of wimp are you to whine?" And a man is born. A boy develops the belief that he can't cry, crying is weakness, or that he can only deal with his emotions and feelings internally. Sharing these emotions is not allowed because people will think, "I'm weak and a wimp." That is what he heard in childhood. And this has already been taken as a model of behavior. And now a man may avoid any discussions about personal problems. For example, if something happened at work, he comes home withdrawn and doesn't tell you. He's afraid to share certain moments with you because he believes that at that moment he will appear, for example, weak in that very unflattering light he fears. This also includes refusing help even if he really needs it, but he won't accept this help, as if proving to the whole world that he can handle everything on his own. And holding back tears, this fear of showing vulnerability. That's why emotions are often off limits for men. If you recognize your man in these moments, what should a woman do here? A woman. It's important to try to create an atmosphere of support and trust in the relationship. First and foremost, don't be afraid to talk about your own feelings, ask the man, In moments when he starts to share with you, never criticize but support. When you provide, support, and give the man those very wings, he understands that he can trust you, and he can be himself with you without hiding behind some iron. Mask of a strong, almighty man who fears nothing, fearless, who doesn't experience emotions, but in reality, he can gradually show his true self. And when this atmosphere of trust is created in the relationship, that iron shell gradually dissolves, and you will truly see what your man is like. An atmosphere of trust is really necessary in any relationship because support, I repeat, is needed by absolutely everyone. And the third thing a man doesn't want to talk about is past mistakes. A man generally doesn't like to talk about his mistakes, let alone admit them. That's precisely why a man might avoid questions about past relationships. For instance, you might be curious and ask some questions, but he doesn't share anything at all. Because at certain moments, he might feel guilty and he doesn't want to revisit the past. And also, hiding his blunders, meaning his failures, or situations that are difficult for him, he might not tell you about them because it's like admitting failure. A man generally wants to feel heroic next to a woman, like an all-powerful conqueror, where everything works out for him and he can do anything. And when a man has to mentally return to past failures, his self-confidence is shattered. That is, he realizes that he is not as strong. Therefore, if a man doesn't want to talk about the past, don't bring him back to it. Give your relationship time. Give the man time to open up to you. Don't pressure him on moments he doesn't want to voice. And here, it's necessary to show him empathy and interest. If you understand that a man is not ready to talk about the past, talk about the present, show interest. In his current life, show empathy, and under no circumstances use criticism, because it's already difficult for a man to perceive his own mistakes, and if you also criticize, then you will know less and less about him. That's all for this video. This was me, Elisa Vardomskaya. I hope for your likes and subscriptions. Write in the comments what you would like to discuss in my new videos. Don't forget to hit the bell. Bye all.